They warned me about the exchange program. They said, "Ezra, you'll meet some strange beings." And boy, they were right. I thought Earth High was weird enough with its assortment of cliques and subcultures, but throw in a few extraterrestrials, and you've got a recipe for chaos. Our new alien student, Zog from the planet Naxaris, arrived on a Wednesday, looking like a cross between a squid and a jellyfish with an iridescent glow. Principal Stevens, bless his heart, tried to keep a straight face during the welcoming ceremony, but the twitch in his left eye gave him away. "Welcome, Zog," he said, voice wavering. "We hope you find Earth High a nurturing environment." Zog's translator beeped, and a robotic voice replied, "Your human rituals are confusing but fascinating. I am ready to absorb your knowledge." I snorted at the choice of words. Absorb seemed fitting for something that looked like it could literally soak up water. My best friend Mark elbowed me in the ribs, and I did my best to stifle my laughter. Our first class was biology, fittingly. Mrs. Daniels was lecturing on cellular structures, and I couldn't help but notice Zog's numerous eyes flicking about, probably judging our primitive understanding of the subject. I leaned over and whispered, "Hey Zog, does this stuff even make sense to you?" Zog's translator beeped again. "Your understanding is rudimentary. On Naxaris, we learned cellular manipulation by age 5. "Well, aren't you special?" I muttered under my breath. This was going to be a long year. Gym class with Zog was another level of insanity. Coach Harris decided a friendly game of dodgeball would be a good icebreaker. Clearly, he hadn't thought this through. Zog's body could stretch, bend, and bounce in ways that defied human anatomy, making him an absolute menace on the dodgeball court. He dodged every ball thrown his way and retaliated with throws that seemed to come from multiple angles at once. I was the last human standing on our team, face to face with this alien dodgeball prodigy. "Come on, Zog, give me your best shot," I taunted, though my voice was less confident than I intended. Zog's multiple appendages grabbed 3 balls simultaneously and hurled them at me. I managed to dodge 2, but took the third right in the gut. The impact knocked the wind out of me, and I crumpled to the floor. As I lay there trying to catch my breath, Zog slithered over. "You challenged me and I responded with full force," his translator said. "No kidding," I wheezed. "Next time, remind me not to taunt the alien." Mark helped me up, laughing. "Dude, you just got schooled by a squid." "Shut up, Mark," I grumbled. This exchange program was going to be tougher than I thought. Lunchtime brought another challenge. The cafeteria had prepared a special meal to make Zog feel at home. It smelled like a mix of rotten eggs and burnt rubber, and I wondered if the cooks had any idea what they were doing. Zog seemed delighted, though. He slurped up the slimy concoction with gusto, his tentacles moving in a blur. I, on the other hand, stuck to my usual pizza slice, but my curiosity got the better of me. "What exactly are you eating?" I asked, trying to hide my disgust. "This is a delicacy on Naxaris," Zog's translator said. "It's made from fermented swamp algae and seasoned with volcanic ash." "Yum," I said sarcastically. "Remind me to pass if you ever invite me over for dinner." Zog tilted his head, or what I assumed was his head. "Human food seems unimpressive. What nutrients do you derive from this pizza?" "Pure deliciousness," I replied, taking a big bite for emphasis. "And a healthy dose of grease." Just then, the fire alarm went off. Apparently, the cafeteria staff hadn't properly vented the fumes from Zog's meal, and the smoke detectors were freaking out. We all filed out to the courtyard, and Principal Stevens was frantically trying to restore order. "Welcome to Earth High, where our cuisine can set off alarms," I said to Zog. His translator beeped. "Your hospitality is unique." "That's one way to put it," I muttered. This was turning out to be the most bizarre school year ever. The annual science fair was fast approaching, and Zog decided to enter. He was working on something he called a quantum flux capacitor, which sounded like it was straight out of a sci-fi movie. "Ezra, I need your assistance," Zog said one afternoon in the lab. "With what? I can barely pass regular science," I replied. "You possess skills that are useful," his translator beeped. I sighed. "Fine, what do you need me to do?" He handed me a soldering iron and some alien-looking components. "Just follow my instructions precisely." As we worked, I couldn't help but marvel at the intricate design of his project. It was clear Zog's knowledge far surpassed ours. I was soldering the last piece when Mark walked in. "Hey, Ezra, what's that?" he asked, eyes wide. "It's Zog's science project. We're building a quantum flux capacitor," I said, trying to sound nonchalant. Mark whistled. "That sounds dangerous." "Only if improperly assembled," Zog's translator said. "No pressure," I muttered, finishing the final connection. On the day of the science fair, Zog's project was the star attraction. It whirred and glowed, and at one point, I swear it made the hair on my arm stand up. The judges were impressed, and Zog won first place by a landslide. Afterward, as we packed up, I turned to Zog. "Congrats, man. You totally deserved it." "Thank you, Ezra. Your assistance was invaluable," his translator beeped. I grinned. "Glad to be of service. Just don't go using that thing to take over the world, okay?" Zog's many eyes blinked in what I assumed was amusement. "Your humor is appreciated." Maybe this exchange program wasn't so bad after all. Homecoming was supposed to be the highlight of the year. The gym was decked out in streamers and lights, and the DJ was blasting tunes that made the floor vibrate. I was feeling pretty good about the night until I saw Zog awkwardly floating near the punch bowl. "Hey Zog, enjoying the dance?" I asked. "I do not understand the purpose of this ritual," his translator beeped. "Why do humans gather and move rhythmically to sound waves?" "It's called dancing," I explained. "It's fun. Come on, I'll show you." Trying to teach an alien to dance was a lot harder than I expected. Zog's tentacles flailed around, knocking over cups and nearly taking out the DJ's equipment. People were starting to stare, and not in a good way. "Maybe just stick to the sidelines," I suggested, patting one of his appendages. Suddenly, there was a commotion at the punch bowl. Apparently, someone had spiked the punch, and the combination of alien biology and alcohol was not a good mix. Zog's iridescent glow turned a concerning shade of green, and he started emitting a high-pitched squeal. "Uh-oh, we've got a problem," I said, rushing over. Zog was wobbling uncontrollably, and it took 3 of us to guide him outside for some fresh air. Principal Stevens followed, looking more panicked than usual. "Ezra, what happened?" he demanded. "Someone spiked the punch, and Zog's not handling it well," I explained. Zog's translator beeped weakly. "I am unwell." "No kidding," I said, trying to keep him steady. With some help from the school nurse, we managed to get Zog stabilized. He rested on a bench, his glow slowly returning to normal. "Sorry about that, Zog," I said. "Humans can be idiots sometimes." "Your honesty is appreciated," his translator beeped. "This has been an educational experience." "Glad to hear it," I replied with a chuckle. "Let's just avoid any more punch for the rest of the night." Toward the end of the year, the school organized an Intergalactic Diplomacy Day to celebrate the exchange program. Each student was supposed to present something about their culture, and Zog was excited to share Naxarisian customs. "We must prepare a display," Zog said, his tentacles bustling with energy. "What do you have in mind?" I asked. "A recreation of a Naxarisian ritual. It involves a demonstration of our telepathic abilities," his translator beeped. "Telepathic abilities? You never mentioned that," I exclaimed. Zog blinked. "It is not something we use often. It requires a deep connection." "Well, this should be interesting," I said, a bit apprehensive. On the day of the event, Zog's booth was set up with various glowing artifacts and a large holographic display. He invited students to participate in the ritual, and surprisingly, a lot of them were curious. "Ezra, will you assist me?" Zog asked. "Sure, why not?" I said, stepping up to the platform. Zog placed a tentacle on my forehead, and I felt a strange tingling sensation. Suddenly, images and feelings flooded my mind, memories of Zog's home planet, the vibrant landscapes, and the sense of community among his people. It was overwhelming but incredible. When it was over, I was left speechless. "Wow, that was intense," I finally said. "Thank you for participating," Zog's translator beeped. "Your mind is resilient." "Glad to hear it," I replied, still processing the experience. The event was a huge success, and Zog's presentation was the highlight. It seemed our school had finally warmed up to the idea of intergalactic education. The end of the school year arrived faster than I expected, and graduation day was upon us. Zog was set to return to Naxaris, and I couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness. "Ezra, your companionship has been valuable," Zog's translator beeped as we stood outside the auditorium. "Same here, buddy," It's been one heck of a year, I replied, trying to keep my voice steady. We shall stay in contact, Zog said. Your communication networks are primitive but functional. I laughed. I'll take that as a compliment. As we exchanged our final goodbyes, I realized just how much this exchange program had changed me. I had made a friend from another galaxy, learned about a new culture, and even survived some pretty wild adventures. Take care, Zog, I said, giving him a wave. You too, Ezra, his translator beeped. May your life be filled with interesting experiences. With that, Zog boarded his ship, and I watched as it disappeared into the sky. The Intergalactic School Exchange Program had turned out to be more than just an educational experience. It was a journey that I would never forget. As I walked away, I couldn't help but wonder what other adventures awaited in the vast universe. One thing was for sure, life at Earth High would never be the same.